Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Paupergeddon 2024, where we're bringing you the best horror rock monster MTG festival in the world. My name, I'm Will Hall, better known on the internet as the Will Hall EXP, and I'm joined by Sapo, the head of the Italian Pauper League, so very well tuned in the Pauper format, where we've got over 120 players all battling it out across 7 rounds of Pauper action to try and get themselves into that top 8, to try and get themselves number 1 and call themselves the top Pauper player in the room as we go into Paupergeddon, which is happening. The main event kicks off tomorrow. Today is very much like it's the warm-up day where we're getting a lot of action happening here. And tomorrow is the 2-day GP style event. For all the old people that remember what GP is, it is you do well in day 1 while we invite you back to play in day number 2. But the format all weekend long, more importantly, is Pauper, which is a format that's very dear to my heart now. Even though I've been playing it, I'm very new to it, but I've fallen in love with it so much.
I can feel your happiness to announce the next match.
Yes, and there's a reason there's a big smile on my face, ladies and gentlemen, because if you follow the broadcast from round 1 to now, as we are moving into round 7, the last round, the winning in round, there is a particular deck that has got a winning in matchup, and it's Poison. That's right. It is Infect. Mono Green Infect is currently 5-1, and we've got that, and we're going to put it straight in the feature match area. Don't worry, though. We've got another deck queued up, ready to come into the feature match area, because this is going to be either really quick or, for one way or the other, we're going to win really quick or we're going to lose really quick.
We have already a backup table.
Yeah, we've got it. It's going to be up against the Grixis Affinity list, which is test and tried. A lot of the Modern Horizon 3 cards are showing up in that, so it's going to be very much the more grindy matchup as we go into that mid to late game. But on the Infect side, I'm not letting it get to the mid to late game. I want to be winning turn 2, turn 3 of this deck, and hopefully get to see that pulling off. So
it's not a deck that wants to go over 4, 5 turns, so I think that will be very quick.
I'm being told by my production that the sat down ready to go. So let's move straight down to that matchup and have a little look as both players are drawing their opening hands. You see on the screen 5-1, 7-round tournament. So if they get the 6-1, that is pretty much a lock in this tournament to get yourself into the top 8. I knew there'd be a hero in the room. I just knew there'd be some hero turning up today, putting Infect counters on their opponent, and we've got one. We found one, and they're in the winning in, which is more importantly. How many was there? Four decks in the room for this tournament. Over, I think it was 124 players by the time we started round number 1 this morning. All battling out. Of course, Boose MTG, you see their logo there on the screen, on the right of your screen. They are the people putting this on this weekend, the whole Paupergeddon. You see the playmats. These playmats are awesome. I've got the event playmat here in front of me, which I'll be showing off when we come back to the booth.
It's I really love it. I really love it.
Every single time, even the last one for Damnation, like the sister event of this, I've got the t-shirt on. Was the horror Ragavan. That was on that one.
Yeah.
That is my playmat of choice. I'm always using that playmat at the minute. Might have to be upgraded to this RK one though. Only if he Only if he signs it for me though. He actually called me yesterday and told me I had to take him out for his birthday because he'll be in the UK for it this year. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'm sold. I don't mind going to RK Post. Me and him play Pokemon Go together. Which is not a sentence people that you would normally say on a Magic the Gathering stream, but yeah, me and RK Post play Pokemon Go together because we are 2 fully fledged grown adults that grew up with Gen 1, ladies and gentlemen. All right, what were we all saying? There's a lot of chat in chat, and I don't read anything but English, so I apologize. I can't respond to any of that. Standings, we don't have the standings yet, at least not available to you all to be able to look at. That'll be coming over the weekend, so that's one of the things they're going to be bringing in for tomorrow. So you can all have a little look how your favorite deck or player or your friends are doing, or just what's doing well in the format in general. Because this is really going to shape it, right? There's not many Paupergeddons happen throughout the year, but every time one happens, the meta will shift a little bit. And because it's so fresh at the minute, because it's got Modern Horizons 3, it's really interesting to see how, at the end on Sunday, by the time we finish and crown a champion, what decks we're going to be able to manipulate and adapt to the format.
Last 2 Paupergeddons has a big set that was spoiled just the week before.
Mm-hmm.
Or, for example, the last Paupergeddon in Pisa here, last year, has the Lord of the Rings set.
Love that set. One of my favorite, maybe my favorite set of all time, but I'm a little biased.
That had the pre-release on the same date as the tournament. The last in Milan, for example, has the Markov set with the pre-release on the same date of the tournament. So
the way that they're lining up is there's always
that's
kind of a
not
shift
so much
in
time
it.
to test and to have a definitive meta.
And I think that's kind of what we're going to see this weekend as well. We've only really been out for 2 weeks, so only 2 weeks worth of testing.
Bench to try new lists. For example, the undefeated on the top of the standing. We are playing that deck that I talked about before, the broad scale combo. I'm really curious about it. And
okay, hold on. Step 1
let's go.
Is mono green infect on the play. That's where I want to be. We did mulligan down to 5, but that's just, when you play infect, you got to accept that.
I think that he need less than 5 cards to win.
Exactly.
That's
now,
not a problem.
if we just have double pummet spell here, we could just end the game on the spot. Lotus Petal is a way for us to kind of explode out. 2 cards left in hand. I've got access to the deck list here. So what 2 cards can get us across the line in this situation?
And Biggin is a huge card here.
Yes, +5, +5.
+5, yeah.
So you see a lot next.
Another one.
So
why not?
This is the alternate draw to infect. Sometimes you just get the creature heavy builds. You want this in the heavy removal type metas, but in this one, we're still going to probably attack into this 2-1. We would love something. I'm pretty sure Pendelhaven is not illegal in this format, right? No, there's no Pendelhaven. So we are going to lose one of our infectors if we turn everything sideways now. But a Rancor could really help move this forward.
Of course.
There's a lot of cool cards that we can use to get across the line. Just how are we going to do that in the face of this Sneaky Snacker, one of the new cards from MH3?
That is not how it was supposed to be played, but you need a chum blocker here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not die, so Sneaky Snacker, it is the chum blocker that you need right now.
Worst case scenario, it's going to trade for a card, right? Like it's either we get the creature off the battlefield or a pump spell is used to save the Glistener on the other side. And I think that's what they're going through in the head. In this situation, I'll just attack.
Yeah, of course, chum block.
I'll kind of take the trade. I'll be like, yeah, cool, that's off the battlefield. I've still got this one around. But then the flip side is we might try and use it for double spell next time.
With no hesitation. Take this.
I think we're in the tank. Those last 2 cards, we haven't played a land for the turn. We haven't fired off any of our pump spells yet. And the kind of the rule when it comes to infect is I might either fire my spells off to protect my creatures, I fire my spells off to get you to 9 infect, so then I don't have to pull the trigger on any more of my creatures, or I fully pull the trigger and I can do 10 in one turn, which I know is going to all resolve. As we see Forecast now being drawn, 2 cards off the top, because remember, there's 3 artifacts on the battlefield, all our land, but that triggers as our 2nd and 3rd card for the turn, which means the Sneaky Snacker comes back.
But it returns top, so it can block.
Okay, shields are down.
Now.
We're fully tapped out at the minute. Shields are down.
This is the spot.
Hopefully one of those 2 cards left in our hand is a big pump spell, and then the one on the top of our deck is another one, and we can go to game number 2. All the infect players take a big breath in, and the forest is not what we wanted to see. But
that's not good.
Okay, +4.
But this is the crows, right?
Yeah, my old Croesus. That's 4 going to come across. Double spell.
This one, this is for you. GG.
And that is going to be +8, making it a 9-powered creature. 9 on the one infect that's already done is 10.
I told you, that's 5 cards are not needed.
It makes my life easy. I don't really count above 10 being an infect player, so when we get them on the screen, love to see it. So yeah, infect's going to be taking down game number 1. Really kind of preying on these decks that have ETB lands that come into play tapped, right? Like, okay, you can play your dual land, that's great. I don't care if it's indestructible, whatever. I've got my elf down turn 1. As long as I can protect it and keep it alive, the good chances is I'm going to kind of run away with this game, especially when you're on the play. But now on the draw, things get a little bit harder.
The biggest enemy of this kind of deck is Snuff Out. And I think that in this moment where Snuff Out is not so played like the meta before the ban of all the leaders, it's not so stupid to play a really dangerous deck that put the threat to close on turn 2 or 3 with the pump spells.
Well, we saw there. Why?
In the meta, yeah, of course. First of all, when we already saw a lot of decks that start with tapped lands, and the need to use 1 mana to cycle as Barrens, or for example, the Lorians Revealed. A really quick and fast deck like this can punish a lot that kind of mid-range that need the first 3 turns to set up their gameplay.
Would you say this is a meta cool then? Like being able to
I
play
think
like
that is a
like
meta cool. Yeah.
Love to see it. I'm going to throw you some sideboard cards here from the Grixis side. Tell me if you think they're good or bad in this matchup, if you'd be bringing them in or not. So we've got in the sideboard, free cast into the fire. Lord of the Rings kind of all-star there, exile effect, plus does 1 damage to multiple creatures. So maybe that could be quite good in this instant speed. We've got Hydroblasts, 4 of those. We got 2 Clan Shamans. 2
Karkla Shaman is the card here. Is a huge card. You cannot respond to protect all the board you have, so it's a really good card. Yeah.
2 Negates. 2 Pyroblasts, 2 red elemental blasts.
The elemental blasts are useless here, so
no blue, no red cards going on. Don't need those. Maybe negates if we've got some real bad cards that we want to bring out, but again, not the best card in this matchup. Going to go across to the infect side. We've got 2 Apostles' Blessings, so maybe they come in for a bit more protection. Of course, Phyrexian Mana is going to be. We know how good that is. Yeah, we don't want gut shots. Natural Claim, Nature's Claim.
Destroy an artifact.
Destroy an artifact. Your opponent gains 4 life.
Gains 4 life. Yeah.
Yeah, like sure. We don't care. You gain life. Whatever. Snakes in Veil.
You play with life.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't bother. Snakes in Veil is a good one. Hits +1/+1 counters.
I really love it.
As well as giving it protection. Obviously, that's kind of an all-star at the minute. We've got 2 more Vines of the Vastwood. If seems to be like we can board more into game 1. We steal the game. Game 2, we know a lot of removal is going to come in, so we've got a lot of ways to kind of protect our creatures going forward. So depending, we don't want to dilute our main game plan with our pummet spells. We still want to have our infectors. Maybe we need to still put a few more pummet spells. But like Vines of the Vastwood, we saw it win the game there, but realistically it's a 1 mana protection, 2 mana. It actually gets the pump spell +4/+4. Does have the secret hidden mode of being able to target your opponent's creatures if they're trying to target it to pump their creature, so to speak. Not that I don't think there's many of those in this format, but
it was used a lot when there was a mono green Stompy in the meta. I was talking about 7-8 years ago.
Okay, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's a dead deck.
I actually had one.
And that is a classic and really easy to play mono green aggro deck that played the Vines of Vastwood that used to cast on the Archaeomancer of the opponent's Archaeomancer in response to their flicker.
Oh yes,
to fizzle the recursion. Yeah.
It looks like both players got an opening 7, and we're off to the races. Untapped artifact landed to more artifacts. Now the count's 3 already, which is crazy in itself. That next turn we could have potentially a double Familiar could come down. Discard 2 cards, add 2 creatures to the battlefield. That's some of the powerful lines that you see out of these Affinity Grixis lists.
Refurbished Familiar is a really good card here.
Oh yeah, it'd be great.
Every card is imported in a poison hand, in infect hand. So
shields down again though. We're going Ichor Wellspring into. We're fully tapped out. If we can go land doubles pump. This is where Intellect scary, and plus they kept a 7-card hand, so it makes it even more scary. Look, the pen's ready to go. How many am I taking? Just don't tell me the number is 10.
Am I alive? Am I still alive?
Is there any free spells that we'd have to worry about in this? Obviously, we've got a lot of them in Modern, Legacy now. Is there anything in Pauper?
No, there was a free spell, but is banned.
Okay, cool. They actually banned them in this format. That's interesting to see.
It was banned since the beginning of the format. Yeah.
Well, there's the second land.
I don't even remember the name. I don't want to remember that name.
Rancor is the card for the turn, so that means we can't get a turn 2 win here, but we can get free infect across. And more importantly, it's got trample, but we've left the 1 mana up, so now we've got a protection in case any removal happens. And you'd think if there was any removal in the hand, it would have been fired off last turn while they were completely tapped out.
There's a problem here. Because the Affinity player does not have the red mana. So the only threat that he can propose is cast down.
Yes, which is a 2 mana removal spell, which is obviously going to eat a lot more mana. We can see that there's a Galvanic Blast in hand, but as you mentioned, no red mana to fire that off. Is there a way that maybe we can make a treasure token instant speed and use that treasure token to produce red, and that, we're holding up the 2 mana for it?
Does he play Edict Effect?
Is there any Edict effects? I have a little look.
I don't remember.
I see Cast Down, Daily Dispute, Dreadful Bridge, Blast.
Not even in the sideboard.
And none in this deck. And I think there's a couple of decks that can really take advantage of that. Infect being one of them, and so with Boggles as well. I think Boggles we could put up a good show in this weekend long, because of course tomorrow in the main event in in the Paupergeddon, there's over 700 players registered tomorrow. So that's a 700 player Pauper events happens tomorrow live here in Pisa on this channel. So if you want to make sure you don't miss any of that, hit the follow button on this channel. Make sure that bell is unticked. So when we go live, you get that little notification and you can tune in for the amazing Pauper action that you're going to be seeing all weekend long. As we are cycling this blood token, tapping, as I say, it does cost mana, and then we're going to untap. But no attacks there. We didn't want to attack our 3-1 into the 4-4 Enforcer, which tells me we probably don't have any more pump spells, or we're going to play it more as a combo element now and try and get that big one-shot coming across. I think that was is that the Boa that just got played there? The Blighted Mumba? I think that's the Blighted Mumba that has...
This one?
Yeah, is that...
This is the Ogre.
Is that the wall one that we were talking about?
+3/+3.
So it's 0/3, and it's got a sacrifice ability to give target creature +3/+3.
Yeah.
And that's at instant speed. There's no limitations
I think that
to
you can cast. You can use the ability only with at sorcery speed. Please check this one. I don't even remember that card is.
Yeah, we don't actually have like the full deck lists in front of us, chat. That's why we're kind of asking. It says only during your upkeep, chat saying. So there's a little bit of limitation of this. No, you are really watching Mono Green Infect. Upkeep, yeah.
During your upkeep, you can
Mono Green Infect, 5-1, 1 game up here. If they win this, they are locked for the top 8. Today is a 7-rounder with a cut to top 8. So this is the last round before we find out which decks make it. And I'm not favoring, being a caster, you got to be very 50-50 when it comes to it and stuff. But I'm not saying I'm biased or I have a favorite in this match. I just want to see some good, clean Magic 1 on turn 2 by one of these decks. That's all I'm saying. I don't have a favorite, though. That's Forecast, 2 cards deeper. For Affinity, we've seen it multiple times so far, and we're only in round number 7 of how powerful that mechanic is in this format. Now, what are we going to... What's the follow-up? Still no red mana, which you pointed out. Super key. This is a Grixis list, after all.
He's menacing a cast down.
Well, here comes 2 mana. This might tap us out. This might be the window we need.
Here we go, cast down. Let's try.
But there's a lot of cards left in hand. You've got to imagine one of them is a protection spell. Surely, and this is the awkward thing with Infect, right? Is you don't ever want to do the kill spell in the Infect player's turn. Because normally the protection spells are also pump spells.
I think he passed it. I think is the end of turn.
Oh, so the end of turn now we're going to cast down.
I think.
No, you're probably right. It'd make a lot more sense doing it this way. So end of turn, Noah combat. Now this is going to force us to potentially play like a Vines or a
the only spell that saves and that allows him to don't waste resources is Snakeskin Veil. That gives also the +1/+1 counter. But
we're going to use the Apostle's Blessing.
Only need to.
Oh no! So it was end of their turn. The Grixis player. So now we pass back to the Infect player. They're fully tapped out. We're giving it +3/+3 in our upkeep. So now that is a 6/4 creature. We only need to get 7 Infect across. 3 mana, potentially 4 for the turn, and a grip for the cards that can bump it.
It's really, really dangerous to play against this deck.
It's really weird seeing people tap out against Infect.
You only need to stay
crazy.
Open. Yeah.
It's such a scary deck.
No hesitation block, of course.
Okay, what have you got? What's the worst that could happen? Remember, this is a 4 toughness creature at the minute on both sides, so this would be a trade. This would not be favorable for the Mono Green Infect in this situation. Surely there's some pump spells in response.
He needs, of course, a pump spell to don't waste his creature.
What would you say are the bad matchups for Infect?
All the matchup the decks that play cast down and free spell. Also, for example,
it's just a straight trade. It happened. So just
I think he has another creature.
100%. You don't do that if you don't do it. But it gets the Enforcer off the battlefield. 2 more Infects across, which means Infect poison counters are up to 5.
The Blight Mamba. Nice.
So this one's got Regenerate. So it's a 2 mana 1/1 with pay 2 Regenerate, which really helps because a lot of your
and Island Walk.
Doesn't?
Yeah, it has a Highland Walk. It cannot be blocked if the opponent has an island. But that's not the scenario.
I didn't even know that was a thing on that card. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to Deadly Dispute here to sacrifice an artifact, but luckily we get to draw 3. One from the Ica Wellspring that goes to the graveyard, and 2 off that. Treasure token also generated, which now leaves open the red mana that we need.
It has not.
Yeah.
Island Walk. I confused. Sorry.
That would be crazy if it did have Island Walk. I'd be very very crazed.
Yeah, it's the boa. Sorry, chat. You're right.
Chat's always right. Even when the wrong chat is right. But here comes the one that you can identify as one of the powerhouse cards of this deck. The what's that bit?
The River Boa, yeah.
No. What's the Clan Shaman? Yeah, Clan Shaman. That is right.
The Clan Shaman, yeah.
So you can sacrifice an artifact, do 1 damage to all creatures without flying.
Without flying.
Pretty sure there's no ways to give it +1 or give it flying for this turn. And even if there was, you can just do it again in response, right?
He can sacrifice in response to the regenerate effect. And it's a huge problem here.
Do you like just going for it now? Looks like we're doing it right now while we're kind of
He's thinking to sacrifice 2.
Yeah, realistically, so let's look, if there was a stack building, so to speak, we go, okay, we're sacrificing an artifact, do 1 damage to all creatures. In response, a pump spell is played. In response to that pump spell is played, we sacrifice another creature. That one resolves first, so then the pump spell doesn't resolve, so then that gets the creature off the battlefield. And yes, we're going to sacrifice this land. Trigger goes on the stack.
Let's see what's happened.
And I think you've got to ask yourself, is one of your cards in hand worth one of your opponent's lands? Because any pump spell in your hand right now is a Stone Rain effect, potentially. Is that where we want to be? Still no red mana as well, because we just haven't drawn it. We had to use a treasure token to get this on the battlefield. This might be a real pivotal point of this match.
Yeah, it's definitely the card that I think the Greeks want to see here.
2 copies in the main.
He doesn't even have a red land he used the treasure token from.
And we're just going to let that resolve.
No way he can respond to a Clan Shaman.
So now you've got to really be hoping you've got another Infector in hand. It does play a little bit like Boggles, like we play a low number of creatures in the deck.
Yeah, really low number.
I think we've got something like maybe 12 in the deck in this instance. That's a little bit more than you traditionally would see in Modern. You're going to do a little count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we've got 12 copies in the deck.
Yeah, remember that, for example, Lone Warogre is not a creature you want to use for close, but it's a pump effect.
Well, we do have a backup, and we've got a list now of the powerful 1-drop. Literally the 1-drop of choice.
How many cards have in hand?
I don't know, but so we kept on 7. This is turn 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's got to be a good 4 or 5 cards in hand, I'd say. Enforcer for 1 mana because of affinity. There's a lot of them on the battlefield. Here comes the MH3 powerhouse, the grief of Pauper, the familiar coming down. So
the
ETB.
Grief at home.
Yeah, we got grief at home. This is the ETB. The opponent discards a card. If they can't discard a card, you will can then draw a card. And we're going to discard another elf into another enforcer.
That's bad.
We just added 10 power to the battlefield for 2 mana. And we got our opponent to discard a card.
For 1 mana.
It's crazy.
It costs only 1 mana. That 10 power of...
So let's have a little look.
Yeah, of course, deck list will be published tomorrow. At least tomorrow.
I don't think Rancor gets us through this. Well, it'd have to be Rancor and a lot of pump spells to do that. Apostle's Blessing on... No, Apostle's Blessing. Well, okay, maybe a Rancor and Apostle's Blessing can get us through.
The charts say that if you use Escape Tunnel, that's the land we will talk. And
I don't know if we play it. Let me have a little look if we've got Escape Tunnel.
Huge mistake, Insect player. Don't play Escape Tunnel.
No, there's no Escape Tunnels in this list. I mean, every pump spell is basically 1 green pip, so there is a plus and a disadvantage to all this. But doing Apostle's Blessing, giving it protection from color spells, but negate is going to stop that. That did come in at the sideboard like we were speaking about. But giving that Apostle's Blessing, protection from colorless, means that only the familiar could have blocked 1 toughness on that, so we could have potentially gone Rancor into pump spell to win that way.
And pass with at least 6 damage to be lethal.
So now we've got kind of rebuild, so to speak. Here comes Rancor, 1 card left in hand.
Yeah. And pass the turn. No, attack. Okay.
We're going to and we're just going to scoop up. That's too much for us there. We could give it +5, +5.
The desperate last move.
If we get +5, that takes it to 8 power. So we can get 2 enforcers off the battlefield in that instance. Rancor comes back to our hand.
The chat correct that Apostle Blessing gives protection from artifacts, not from colorless.
Yeah, from artifacts. Sorry, chat.
So with the rats too.
Would it stop the rats?
Yeah, it's an artifact, yeah.
I thought it said colours on it there. But chat knows better. Chat always knows. But
Chat
interesting,
is always right.
We get to go to a game 3 more importantly, which is the bit that I want to see. I love seeing 3 games of Paper Magic played all at once. So I'm just
here.
Yeah, target artifact creature you control gains protection from artifacts until understanding you. Chat's got it right. They're beautiful. See, they're always right. From artifacts or a color of your choice. I'm thinking of Giver of Runes. Giver of Runes gives it colors. Because they kind of moved away from the wording of artifacts on cards to colorless on cards now. It's kind of one of the adaptations that we see. Some other runes can't do it, but it's interesting. But
I prefer the blessing effect. Being a lot better. And it's one of those powerful cards with old text that we get to utilize here in Pauper. Yeah, that was a 7-card hand we kept. It would have been good on the play. I think we would have won that game, and more importantly, we get to be on the play now in game number 3 here of match number 7. They're calling for a turn 3 kill.
Turn 2. Can we win turn? No, we can win turn 2.
We cannot. I don't know. Maybe with
doesn't the
Lotus Pito, I think.
Oh, let me get the deck list back up. It doesn't embiggen, or is that +4? I think embiggen gives it +4. Right? One for each card type and subtype. So if you get
Phyrexian Elf,
Phyrexian Elf creature. What's the 4th one? There's like 4. So yeah, maybe we can't win because there's no. Oh no, we've got mutagenic growths in the deck. We can definitely win turn 2. There's no way currently set up to see the standings yet, so that's something that's going to be coming in tomorrow.
It's a warrior too. Phyrexian Elf Warrior creature. +4, +4.
+4. So double that plus mutagenic growth, easy 11 damage coming across. So there is a lot of ways that can happen here. I think one of the players might have stepped away to go to the toilet or ask you judge a question.
It allows a turn 2 kill, but you need a painted hand. So you need the perfect hand. Yeah, and no interaction from the other side. If your opponent starts, for example, like the red land go.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be red land go, right? If you go turn 1 creature and you've got the way to kill it with the shields are down, you're firing off there and then. You never wait to kill an infect creature where there's mana up. Or even if you do, you're going to learn
in your turn, of course.
You're going to learn the quick way that you shouldn't have done it. So we can have a little look at the hands here. I see a couple of tap lands and forecasters. A sneaky snacker, but
I can see red lands here.
But I can't see red spell.
Oh, red spell.
I'm happy for my opponent to have red lands if they don't have the red spells. I don't have a look at the infect list, but it looks like we've got a keep. I don't see them reach.
It's a mulligan. In fact, you need the responses and removal spell here. Absolutely.
Is this their hand?
I think.
Where's the deck?
Yep.
That's not a deck. That's a dice bag. I don't know where their deck is. I don't know if there's a mulligan on both sides right now, but there's definitely a mulligan on one of these sides on the Infinity Grixis list. Yeah, maybe just shuffling off the table here, where angles. Which is a shout out to the great setup that we've got here at PauperGeddon. We've got the huge hall next door. It's like a big theatre that's just been built. There's projectors all over the place. So on one wall, they've got the projection of the clock for the round for all the players in the room. And on the other 2 projectors, they're actually projecting this right now. They can't hear us, but they can see everything that's going on. And the later the round goes, the more people that stood around them actually watching it. So it's such a cool effect. So it looks like it was a double mulligan here from both sides. Both players going down to 6. I guess Grixis is looking for that early interaction. Infect's looking for, realistically, a turn 1, maybe even turn 2 Infect creature to get on the battlefield early. Yeah. I see a Galvanic Blast. I also see the Shaman.
But I don't see. I don't know if it has red.
I don't think it's got red mana either, which could pay out to be pretty brutal.
Starting hand is so important in this deck. Talking about the poison of course, the infect.
Oh look, we live by the sword. We die by the sword.
You don't have draw spell. You can do card selection.
We are all in.
We are all in. Yeah, of course.
Okay, that's the mulligan sorted. Land. Do we have the turn 1 elf? No, we got a turn 1 wall. Maybe we're going to go the old-fashioned way. Like
20 damage
just
from
20.
at 0-3.
I've won a lot of games with a noble hierarch before, I tell you. Like when people just don't have it and you just turn everything sideways. But we could be playing it a little bit slower here. We might have the elf in hand, but decide to play it up with.
Hoping for a land that
did we just pass?
It didn't arrive.
Okay, I think our chances of winning this game just like halved in one turn dramatically, which gives us the ability to tap out for the sneaky snacker. One of the new cards from MH3, of course. 2-1 for the flying. Is it a fairy rogue? I want to say the creature types are like fairy rogue. But more importantly, once you've drawn 3 cards in your turn, it comes back out of your graveyard, back into play, and it is tapped. So we can utilize that for some of our, draw card effects that we've got in there. It's designed to have something discarded to it, or sacrifice to it. It's also a great blocker in this matchup because it can kind of jump. It is a fairy rogue. It would come across as a fairy rogue. You can't name something sneaky snacker without it being a fairy rogue.
Paradoxically, this is a fairy, but this is not so powerful in a fairy deck.
No, yeah, exactly.
It also even the same color of the an existing fairy deck, but it doesn't perform very well in a fairy deck.
Speaking to Emma last round, like this was one of the ones that went under the radar for the panel when they were looking at the Pauper meta and all the new cards that get printed. This is one they didn't really pick up on their radar. They didn't think it would see as much play or have an impact like we are seeing here in Pauper, which is cool in some aspects, in my opinion. Here comes a Nature's Claim. That's going to just a 1 mana stone rain, so to speak, and also
provoke a mana screw.
Taking off the blue mana, but is leaving up the black and red, which ultimately is the removal side of it. But one thing is we're leaving them with red and black mana, and that's what we need for our removal spells. Blue mana is what we need for our draw spells.
You destroy me, blue mana. Here's the blue mana, the backup, blue mana.
And it's going from bad to worse here.
Come on, try to destroy this. Yeah, that's
the clan
huge
shaming
upgrade.
It's just brutal.
Yeah.
So now not only are we missing our infect creatures, we now need to designate 2. Here's one of them. Here's one we haven't seen. This is the male, is it?
When it becomes blocks, you get +2/+2.
Iron Claw Mirror. Yeah, so when it blocks +2/+2. Great when you put something like a Rancor on it, and you can turn it sideways. So when people do block it, you're like, oh yeah, sure, give it +2/+2, plus pump it. Means 9 out of 10 times it's going to stay around and be able to attack the turn after. But not so much faith in that happening. In this instance where we can sacrifice an artifact, but we don't have many to sacrifice right now. We've only got the 2 land, so it would cost us one of our lands to do that. And the fact that we're getting frisky with this right now makes me think that potentially that's what we might be doing. We might have to just pull the trigger on this. We are on a mulligan already, even though you wouldn't know that with the amount of cards in hand.
It was a mulligan to 6 for both players, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So here comes the sacrifice,
and it will return.
This is one of the synergies I was talking about. So we sacrifice it, we draw 2 cards, make a treasure token, but because this is technically the second and third card we've drawn for the turn, means that Sneaky Snacker will now come back out of the graveyard. It won't have tapped, sure, that's fine. I'm wondering, do we sweep the board now before it comes back?
Yeah.
Like, do we fight off now? We would have to sacrifice maybe this treasure token or one of these lands that we've got in play. But it looks like we decide against it. We don't want to go that route.
But don't worry because
we got this. Look.
It has flying, so it doesn't take the damage from Shaman.
Oh my God, no, it doesn't. You're right.
And the familiar too.
Yeah.
It's a 2/1 flying.
Flying, like those cards don't need flying on them.
No,
like they don't need that added little bit of text. Here comes a mutagenic growth.
I'm totally agree with you.
So this is going to be forced now. We've got a little bit of a stat going on here. So now in response to the mutagenic growth, we're going to sacrifice one of our lands. Stone raining ourselves, but it will deal with the infect creature on the other side. That doesn't die.
No, it has flying.
Has flying.
Not even the 15th player remember it.
Look, I fall short of it as well. I would have done exactly the same thing. You've got to read these cards. The amount of times I've lost a game of Magic because I think I know what the card does. And then in reality, I read it and I'm like, oh, if I just read this card, I probably wouldn't have been blown out as bad as I was.
A clap for the Mono G player that remember
that both players'
this is the
job.
fair play of Pauper players. I really like it.
It's both players' job to maintain the board state, so it's correct. Everything. So pointing that out to your opponent, hats off. You could just say no, and try and get away with it, but trust me, you don't want to try and get away with anything sneaky on camera. You'll be the next subject on some sort of social media which you really don't want to be part of. So now we're moving into, is this like turn 4 now? We've had double Stone Rain effect. We're now Deadly Disputing again, so 2 more cards deeper. Treasure token generated. Sneaky Snacker comes back out of the graveyard. We've seen this song and dance multiple times now. Here comes the tap
Did
lands.
Affinity made an extra land drop? Vi risulta?
No. This is turn 5. We've had double Stone Rain, right? And then these 3 lands, and the Infect player's been missing a bunch of land drops. Pretty sure this is turn 5.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. It's turn 5.
And we've had 2. It's crazy that even on the mono green side, it somehow managed to get 2 land destruction effects happen. And this isn't Ponza. This isn't mono green Infect Ponza. Even though if someone wants to brew that deck, I'm
my
down
worst
with it.
nightmare. Mono green Infect Ponza.
I know that you're not a fan of the old Ponza list, but we do see a lot of it doing well this weekend, and kind of moving towards the top of the standings. So we'll see how that actually pans out overall. But right now, our hero at the top of our screens, a mono green Infect, is not going well for them. Every single creature has been answered right now. At the minute, we've got this 0/3 wall that doesn't get turned sideways well. But our opponent on the other side is making us discard. They're generating loads of card value. It's they're basically getting to do their game plan, and we're not being able to do ours.
The hope almost killed the mono G player because he kept a hand with 1 land, and I think that it's too dangerous. I prefer to mulligan again.
What, mold down to 5?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Remember that the first game he won
was a mold of 5. But then also,
with a mulligan to 5.
Your opponent didn't know what you were playing at that point, so you can kind of get away with that surprise factor in turn 5.
I know, but the Affinity player or mulligan too has taken a mulligan too. So I prefer to mulligan and search a playable hand instead of doing something like land non-infect creature and the second turn make nothing.
Well, sometimes
I really don't like to miss a land drop. I want to search a hand that allows me to.
We're Infect players. We do that. We have to like try and high roll. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to be like, this hand's the nuts. If I just hit, I've got a higher chance of drawing a land than any other card in my deck because there's only 4 copies of other cards.
I don't think you have a nice chance to draw a land. How many lands?
Well, no. So there's more lands in our deck than there is spells, right? So there's 4 of each spell, and there's 21 lands, let's say. So I've got a higher chance of drawing a land than a spell. Spells in this start aren't good. Me drawing a land, sure, that's going to enable me to be so far ahead in this matchup. If I miss it, then yeah, it's going to be bad. The kind of weighed up, is it better for me to have 5 cards in my hand when I start? Potentially, we don't know, and 5 unknown cards, might be no infector, and I might have to go down again. Or is this going to be acceptable enough? If I hit a land, I'm off to the races. If I don't, it's going to be an uphill battle, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. But we are able to get another infector on the battlefield as this the
Icor Claw.
Yeah, the Claw can come down here. I keep thinking of what's that film with the Claw? He's like Jim Carrey. What's that film called?
It was.
It's not Dumb and Dumber. It's. No, it's not Ace Ventura. Chat. Talk. Is it? What was it when he's doing the Claw? Is it Liar Liar?
Okay, Liar.
So,
Okay, okay.
I got that.
No, GG. There's no way.
No, it's not The Mask. Now Chat's just going to name random Jim Carrey films. Shout out though to Jim Carrey if anyone wants to,
I'm sorry, but your paladin, your Infect paladin has conceded the match.
Yeah, it's not going well the way that everything's going to line up from here. Only at 4 life. Galvanic Blast being able to take it down. Plus we've got the counter magic if anything did. I think they're just talking back and forth through it. We're going to see if they can get us a backup feature match or not. I'm going to check the old Discord here in front of me. Okay, they're looking to see if they can find us.
Let's see the play mat. I am really curious.
Well, yeah, let's come back to the booth, and I'll show you the play mat of. So this is every time one of these events happen, there's a special play mat made. One of the artists will do the art for the play mat. This play mat is done by RK Post, much loved in the Magic
really,
Gathering.
really huge artist.
And this is we did have it on the feature match earlier, but we're going to show it off to everyone here. Here, you grab this side. And this is the cool art. So everybody turn this weekend, you can pick these up. You agree? It's like a horror. I think this is a horror themed MTG event, and that's a pretty gruesome picture, but it's also RK Post-esque. This is beautiful by RK Post. You'd love to see it
in total Boose style. This kind of art.
It's sweet, and the more support they can get, and every time someone turns up, they can pick up one of these, as well as multiple others. I used the Damnation one's the last one I used, and that's got a horror Ragavan on it. So you can go back and VODs and check that. And same, you can pick up some of the old play mats at some of these events if they don't sell out. But these tend to sell out like ASAP. Everybody wants this mat. Because once it's gone, it's gone. There is no reprint of it. And we all know,
it's a total limited edition.
Yeah. It really is. As well as like all the other cool stuff that happens at these events. So, they're going to sort out. I don't think we've got a backup feature match, but that means we get to talk for a little bit. Let's talk about Paupergeddon in general. This whole weekend, a 3-day event where over the weekend there's going to be over 1,000 players. As literally as I'm saying that, Gavin Verhey walks in the door, ladies and gentlemen. That's kind of the style that you have to
leave my place and let you talk.
No. I don't know. How did you guys sound? Are you still playing?
No.
Do you want to jump in quickly? We've got some time to kill.
Oh, I was gonna fix my deck.
Okay, he's gonna fix his deck. Okay, sure.
I can chat if you want me to.
We will. We've got the round over, so yeah. Okay, we'll get Gavin in and off the cuff ask him some questions. Have you got any questions for?
Thank you guys. See you later.
We'll close out with you in a second. It's all good. We appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Oh, come on, get down here, my friend. Here we go.
You know what? Life is good because I might have lost out of that tournament.
Headphones.
I don't need to hear what I'm saying. I might have lost out of that tournament. Then I got to go walk and eat gelato. And there's one right outside the convention center.
I was just about to say that, talking about this event and like how we've got over 1,000 people over the weekend and we're playing literally Pauper and nothing else, as well as all the different side events we got going on. We've got all the food trucks outside. So yeah, because we're in the literally in the middle of the mountains, this beautiful view outside. They've got a load of food trucks to come and set up outside. And as I say, there's an ice cream stand outside, which it's very humid. I did the mistake of buying 4 ice creams, and by the time I was walking back to the venue because it was so hot.
Will, you were going to eat 4 ice creams?
Well, no, I bought 4 for multiple people. I'm very nice at that. You know, when I go, I'm like, hey, would you like an ice cream? Because some of the artists don't get to leave. They're stuck on their booth, signing cards and, interacting with the fans, so they don't get much time to eat. And I got to make sure that, Jeff and RK get fed, or they get cranky.
Well, good on you for feeding them.
Wow. I'm a nice guy. I mean, I try my best. This is
this is the sneaky metagame breakdown, huh?
We got a lot of them. We got 2.
Are we allowed to tell people what's going on?
Yeah, we could talk about it. You're Gavin Verhey. You can do what you want, sir. You know what I mean? No, we're not going to tell you different. You do what you want.
Number 1 deck pawns.
Well, this is the metagame for the main one today.
Yeah.
And then these are the breakdowns of, because we've got over 124 people playing in our main event today. Remember, this is the Italian, Players Pauper League. So they've been playing in different various places all around Europe. All the top 8 players get invited to play today to battle out to be the top Pauper player. And that is what we've been crowning today. Tomorrow is where Paupergeddon kicks off, which is the 2-day GP star event. So you do well in day 1, they'll invite you back to day 2. And currently right now, there's over 700 players registered to battle out in that. And of course, Modern Horizons 3 is out. So we're going to be really interested on Sunday to see how that meta has shifted, what cards have decks adapted to. Maybe there's going to be some new decks that we've just come out the woodwork that no one's seen.
Yeah, I've seen some wild stuff out there, man. You never know what you're going to find.
We just saw, unfortunately, Mono Green, in fact, lose. But they were 5-1 going into that round. So that drops into a 5-2. I don't know about Breakers. Maybe they'll sneak in at 8th place, but I can only cross my fingers. Still no Poison Storm update. I know that's what you're wondering. How many Poison Storms we've seen? We have seen
I
0.
have seen some Weather of the Storms cast. I'll let you know I've seen some Weather of the Storms cast out there, so some people are doing it. But the big deal is against a lot of the Storm-based decks, especially the graveyard ones, Thraben Charm is really keeping those decks
Was this
down.
on your radar, on the panel's radar? Did you think this is going to be one of the cards that is going to see a lot of play? Or was this one that's kind of snuck under the radar and you're like, hold on a minute, we looked at it and we thought, but no, actually, we're seeing it pop up in a lot more main decks than we thought.
No, I mean, Thraben Charm is a card that you just read and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. It would see some play, right? Because it's never going to be a card that's going to be a problem. Generally, reactive cards are tough to be the problems. In a format like this, the spells are so strong, right? You have to compete with Lightning Bolt and Brainstorm, but it's just the flexibility of it is so huge, right? It's like kill a creature, exile a graveyard, or kill an enchantment, which can be shockingly relevant, right? Against that Ponza deck, even if you're on the play, turn 2, just getting rid of their wild growth can totally change the structure of the game.
Especially if they have, as you said, I've got a turn 1 elf, but they have to tap out for it and you can destroy it in response, and you slow down their mana acceleration. Also, double up hedges against Boggles. Boggles can be, if they have, what's the something mask? It gives everything +2/+2 for each enchantment. That's like the scary big payoff in that deck, right? Like being able to give
Ancestral Mask?
Ancestral Mask. Like you destroy that out of nowhere so you can survive one more turn of combat potentially. Yeah, that card, the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, that's actually really good. And it's not, we're used to do X damage to the amount of creatures you have. This is double the amount of damage. So every creature basically does 2 damage at that point to a creature, which is pretty sick to see.
I was able to deal with 6/6s with that card, no problem, which was really fantastic. It was I was playing Black White Blade in the trial I was just in, and
how'd that go?
It went pretty medium. I did not draw Refurbished Familiar enough. I'll tell you, that was my biggest weakness. I got to draw Refurbished Familiar
Need to draw more
often.
Maybe maybe you could have a word with a few people, print another one.
I don't think so.
Like maybe in blue or red, and has a little bit more ETB. Utilize it that way.
The games where I drew Refurbished Familiar, though, we were cooking.
It's looked really good when I've seen people doing it, especially when people are picking it back up as well and recasting it for 1 mana. It's looked pretty good. Also, Sneaky Snackers looked great.
Yeah, the Snackers.
Every time I've seen it cast, it's
snacking
huge.
time this weekend.
But let's have a look at this meta. What other decks in here kind of stand out to you? You think, oh, hold on, I didn't think many people would be bringing that one. So let's look.
So something we start. I don't know if you've talked about it more, but at the top of the day, we talked about how you might see some decks that don't normally show up because they aren't on Magic or Online, or they don't work on Magic Online. And Ultratron is one of those decks sitting here at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th most popular deck in the top Pauper Players tournament is Ultratron, a combo which doesn't really work on Magic the Gathering Online, but does work out great here in real life. So some brave souls have chosen to run that, although it is tough against those Thraben charms.
Yeah, so they were trying to explain to me what the deck does and how it works and stuff, and I was trying to keep my lunch down because it sounded upsetting. What that deck can do is not the way that I would like to play against my opponent. I'd be like, oh, come on, what's going on? I can't have combat? Okay, sure. You take all the fun. Let's see what chat's saying here. If you've got any questions for Gavin, make sure you do put them in the chat, and I'll be able to ask it.
But you got to put them in English because me and Will are going to be useless.
Yeah, we don't do anything. We're segregating to the English stream now. This is where me and you kind of will be shining. Yep, English.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at these lists, one deck that's kind of shown up is this Madness deck, right? This red-black aggro Madness deck. We've seen this on Magic Online for a while. It's nothing new, but I think right now, because of the decks like Ponza and because of the slower decks in the format, this hyper-aggressive deck is the thing that preys on that Ponza deck, right? When you have a hyper-aggressive deck that causes huge challenges for someone that's trying to blow up your lands and take its time. So that is something that is actually some number of people play in this tournament to kind of counteract that, and is pretty strong.
So there's a lot of talk about Ponza in the chat, and obviously because the Chrysalis is out now, it's picking up really good results not only in draft but also it looks like it's doing quite well in Ponza. Are we going to still call it Ponza after this weekend? I don't know. It might turn to a monsters list. But did you foresee that card being like a standout in this format? Was that on the radar of you? Or did
the Chrysalis?
Yeah.
For Pauper, if you asked me, could this card see play in Pauper? I'd be like, yeah, sure, I could see it being play in Pauper. But it's definitely not like I do not think it'd be as much of a backbone of this red-green deck as it is, right? Okay. Playing that and then untapping, casting Altasaur is really, really, really
That's nice. The other side of it. You think, okay, it's just a forward and you get a couple of blockers. No, it's also ramping you in the next turn after, which is huge.
And it's a cast trigger, so if you counter it,
it's also a cast trigger as well, which is sick. Would you ever consider unbanning Invigorate? No. Or Infect will be a pain.
Yeah, it's very good with the Infect mechanic. So, I mean, consider it. Yes, we've talked about it, but I think it's unlikely to make a return. It's just the games where you have turn 1 Glistener Elf, turn 2 you're dead are just really not that fun. There's a question in the chat about Ponza being slow. It's a pretty slow deck, right? Like, yes, it can play Stone Rain on turn 2, but if you're Stone Raining your opponent is playing Monastery Swift Spear, you're just going to lose that game really quickly. So, it's not all slow plays. It plays stuff starting on the first turn of the Wild Growth and so on, but its game plan takes much longer to.
And also if you draw the wrong half of your deck, it doesn't work. Like if you draw the mana accelerant but none of the payoffs, you're in a bad place. If you draw the payoffs and none of the mana ramp, you are really slow deck because. Lango is not going to be ideal. If everyone's just tuned in, I just want to shout out there. This is literally just at the end of round number 7. So the next time once we finish this segment, we come back, we'll be going into the top 8 because we've had 7 rounds of Swiss today. But then we've got the top 8, and then tomorrow we're back again for 2 full days of Pauper action. So make sure you do hit that follow button if you want to, stay tuned of when that's happening because this format is amazing. Right, let's go back to the meta lists.
Yeah, so let's just go down. Let's talk through them in order because we got some time presumably.
Let's do it this way. I'll say it because you're the one that's going to be talking about it.
Oh, great! All right, we'll go down in order. I'll tell you what I think.
Affinity Grixis with the Sneak Snacker in.
Yeah, Affinity. I mean, coming into the tournament, I think a lot of people knew that Affinity was one of the decks to beat. Mm-hmm. Now it has fallen in the past couple of weeks on Magic Online because of decks like Ponza, and there's some other tough matchups. People have started sideboarding a lot more cards for it, so it's fallen almost entirely out of a lot of the top 8s. But of course, still an incredibly powerful deck. It's got some great new tools. Refurbished Familiar is a big pickup, and the Snacker. So good. You play
so good.
your Alter's Reap style card, you draw 2 cards, you deadly disputing, you get a treasure, you gain some life, whatever, and the snacker just comes back immediately, and you gotta love that from the sneaky snacker.
Why has it got flying?
Because it
doesn't need flying.
It's a fairy. It's a fairy, Will.
Is there any fairies without flying? Trivia?
Yeah, Groundling Pounder.
I knew you would know that.
It's
so good at this.
It's an Eventide card, I think. Look it up. Look it up. It's 1 GU, but it can gain flying, but technically.
You're so good. You're so good. Okay, Pons is the next deck we always spoke about. Let's go about Orzhov Blade, which you were playing today.
Yeah, the Blade deck. I played Blade today in this side event. I really enjoy this kind of deck. I love the Glint Hawk Core Skyfisher core decks. Those are really, really, really fun. So much of the deck felt to me like it was just wrapped up in if you can draw Refurbished Familiar or not. Like if you can keep it on the table and bounce it a bunch of times, you're in really good shape. But otherwise, it felt a little tough. And I kind of wanted almost like, I didn't play any in my list, but like a Goliath Paladin or 2 at the very top end.
What's a Goliath Paladin do?
It's the 5 mana card that takes the initiative. So it's just a great, like, you got the game a little bit in your control because it's a very attrition-y deck. You're like tithing blading them and refurbishing familiar. And if you just get to, you'll get on like a very attrition, like, okay, we've both kind of stalled out a little bit, board states a lot. And if you could just slam like a Goliath Paladin or even take the initiative or take the Monarch either way, I think that deck could be pretty strong. So yeah, it might need a little bit of more tuning, but it's got some good stuff going on for sure.
Jeskai Ephemerate.
Oh man, now this deck, I played against this in the event I was just in, and I've always loved Jeskai Ephemerate. Big fan of that. But it got a pretty big pickup here in a subtle way in the Jeskai Sacrifice Land, right? The Evolving Wilds variant in the set. I don't remember the name of the Jeskai one off the top of my head. But it's pretty big because it fixes your mana. Okay, sure. But the other thing is, in a deck that's playing Brainstorm, right? It plays 4 Brainstorms. Being able to shuffle those cards
the
away.
legacy effect that we usually see. That's a powerful line in Legacy.
Right.
Now might making its way into Pauper, which we spoke. I don't know if it was you or speaking about someone else, but Pauper is death by 1,000 cuts. Right. Like there's so many micro decisions all add up to your victory, and adding another one like a powerful micro decision, which is okay, I can pick back 2 bad cards, kind of reset the top of my deck. That's key, and we've seen it in the Legacy being powerful. So now seeing it in this format, going forward with this fetch line that you speak about, like, and that's one thing we haven't actually spoke about is there's a whole like range of cycle/fetch lands just been introduced to this. Like, I haven't seen too many of them floating around, but the fact that they're in the format.
Yeah, I mean, we've had Ash Barrens for a while. We've had Evolving Wilds, Escape Tunnel, even all that kind of stuff. But the ability here to have a land that comes into play untapped and then later you can sacrifice is really, really nice with that Brainstorm. You don't have to hold it in your hand like Ash Barrens or something along those lines.
Madness Rakdos. But it says it was sneaky here, so I'm guessing it's got sneaky snacker in there.
Well, if you're playing your Madness deck, why don't you just discard some of those extra sneaky snackers and then come back as attackers?
Yeah. Combo. Oh, as I say that, Walls combo.
Yeah, the Wall combo deck. I think a lot of people are taking this opportunity to go with this combo strategy because a deck like Ponza has a tough time interacting with the creatures. Yes. You can blow up my lands, but I have 4 Overgrown Battlement, 4 what's the Guardian, Axebane Guardian that taps for mana. So and you even have a Quirion Druid or Quirion Ranger to pick up 4 so they try and target them. So this deck can be quite strong. Now it is soft, the removal on its pieces, but you
don't play him in Ponza. You know what I mean? In the Ponza, even the sweepers don't hit them because they're all walls with 3, 4, 5 toughness.
Well, and like even if you're playing as a Tithing Blade deck, like you can keep the good walls and sacrifice the weaker ones. So this deck, I think, it's always been kind of under the radar in Pauper, and maybe this is going to be a breakout event for it.
Is it very resilient to removal? Because obviously, like 1-for-1 removal. Because sure, you took in a wall, or is there key walls that need to be stuck around?
There are key walls that need to stick, but one thing it has access to is both Winding Way and Lead the Stampede, and it plays a pretty low land count. So both those spells will draw you 3-ish cards each time, so it's pretty good at refreshing its stuff. And there's a variant of the Walls deck that also plays the Cascade cards like Annoyed Altasaur and the Boarding Party as well.
I've played against that one quite a few times. Okay, Boris Synthesizer. I know you're a big fan of Synthesizer.
This is a fave of mine. I love this deck. The Synthesizer is ridiculous. Whenever you play it, you just draw 2 cards, basically, and you pick it back up, and it feels so good. I mean, this is really a mid-range deck that can go aggro or control if it needs to, which is delightful. So big fan of the Synthesizer. How many folks brought that one, or how far down that list is this?
Synthesizer 4 copies.
Okay, so it's not that high. So what we're looking at right now is just this is the trial. People that were in the trial.
And this is one that I haven't seen, I haven't played against. So I want you to kind of give me a brief explanation of what it does. And Goblin combos is obviously it's going to be a Goblin combo deck, I'm sure. But what is that combo of goblins?
Yes, it's let's see.
Or is that really putting you on the spot and we should move on?
Let's see if I can get all the card names right, because that's not always my strong suit. It uses there's the Oracle. You can like sacrifice a goblin or sacrifice a creature to flip your top card, and you can cast it this turn. Dark Dweller Oracle, is that the name of the card? Maybe it was a rare. There's downshift shifted to common alongside like some of the persist goblins. There's the 1/2 persist goblin. It gets a little Skirk Prospectors in there, so you're like sacrificing your goblins to play more,
generate more mana,
and then eventually, you just you cast a bunch of spells. You get a storm. You get to empty the warrens, make a bunch of goblin tokens.
Okay,
mana,
so
that kind of thing.
Okay, so that's the combo element.
Yeah,
of it,
you might be first day of classing as well. Which, if you know this card from Strixhaven, it says whenever a creature enters you this turn, you put a counter on it and it gains haste. So very good with empty the warrens to kill your opponent.
Turn them all and get okay, I like that. One, you mentioned something there that like I want to touch on. And if we're not, we'll talk about it. Tell me about it. But you downgraded from rare to common. What sort of conversation has to happen at Wizards for a rare to be downgraded to common? Is that common something that happens, or is it just an evolution of Magic over the last 30 years? Cards 30 years ago are not as powerful now, so they're acceptable as common.
I think chat's pointing out correctly, by the way, that Empty the Warrens is banned in Pauper. That is not the card that I intended.
That's not the one you're thinking about. Okay,
there's some token maker in that deck that makes tokens that goes along with that. I can't remember what it is.
Let's see if chat's pointing out what it is. It's
the first day of class. Let's see. They've got Skirk Prospector, Putrid Goblin, Dark Dweller. Oh, it's the Putrid Goblin with first day of class. That's the combo, right? Because Putrid Goblin comes in, it has -1 counter.
Is that? Can I have that? No. Am I allowed to tell everybody what the top 8 decks are? Let's have a little look.
Here we go.
Okay, so top 8 decks. Looks like we've got Grixis Affinity. We got just.
Whoa! You gotta slow roll this a little bit.
Okay. In the first deck, first seed, Grixis Affinity. Any? Do you think that's
makes sense?
I was kind of expecting that going into this weekend.
It's a good deck.
Jeskai Ephemerate. It's coming in second place.
Nice. Yeah, often with Cleansing Wildfire.
And
stuff like
you
that,
just spoke about that and like how that can generate a bunch of value. Then in third place, another Grixis Affinity deck.
Okay.
I feel like we're going to see quite a bit of that. It was like the most played deck, so it makes sense that more copies are going to get into the top 8. But that's first and third seed. Then we just spoke about Wolves.
Oh, the Wolves.
In fourth place, yeah. Don't know if that's the Cascade Wolves or the other one. And that's why I kind of looked down the list. There's actually Wolves Combo and there's also Wolves Cascade. So if you added them together, that's 9 copies. It would actually be the third most played deck in the room, which is interesting. Maybe that's a meta game call in itself.
Time for the Walls, right? If you think you're going to fight a lot of pawns, then maybe Walls the way to go.
Next up, everyone's favorite, Ponza.
Oh yeah, here we are. It's time. Tap those lands, baby.
I'm quite happy because I bought into that deck, so I'm happy it's doing well. It means I've actually got a legit playable deck that's not Poison Storm. Glee combo is coming up next.
We made it. All right, so this is the new combo deck fresh with Modern Horizons 3 that makes infinite 1/1s.
I think the only time we've seen it on camera so far was a mirror match in round 4, I think it was. It was on camera, and I knew everybody was talking about that. So interesting that one of them's managed to make it through to our top 8 here. Then Gates coming in 7th place. So still pitting up. That's like the mid-range deck of choice. People have been telling me that it just does what it says on the tin. It's very good. It's got a lot of decisions in it, and then you can kind of fine-tune it to what meta you think.
This is the Kage deck, blue-white Kage. Man, that deck is super interesting given that I think it is a pretty bad Ponza matchup.
Okay.
So making it this far is nice job. Nice job running through
So
that.
it's going to be really happy that in 8th place is another Ponza list.
Okay.
So 2 Ponzas, 2 Grixis, 2 Grixis, and then 4 off the beat decks kind of with Wolves, the Jeskai Ephemerate list, the Glee combo deck, and the Gates list. So what do you think of that? Is like the meta shaping up top 8? 124 players. We're down to the last 8. That's the 8 decks that are left standing.
I mean, 6 different decks in top 8. I'd be pretty happy with that result, right? You have 6 different decks in top 8. You have, of course, Affinity's there. You have the kind of the new thing in Ponza and a bunch of other things. That's pretty. I'm
trying to think how many Modern Horizons 3 cards are actually going to be in this. So Grixis Affinity is the only one that doesn't play it is Wolves and Gates. Maybe the 2 that don't play it. Gates plays the Favoring card, right?
The 3-Bin Charm?
Yeah, Favoring Charm.
They might play 3-Bin Charm, and also without knowing the list, I mean, it's hard to know what.
I'm sure we can get the deck lists of all top 8 printed out and brought to the casters as I look towards the person that's going to do it, as I give them some work. We appreciate it. It helps us. It helps us. Chat's asking. You got to do what chat says, or chat will riot. But that's the top 8. Is there anything that you thought going off the meta that would have you think, okay, that's probably a hard lock. That's like a good choice. Like there's no boggles floating around, but then
one thing I'm really surprised about is we see no hyper like aggro decks in the top 8. Yes, there's Grixis Affinity, don't get me wrong, but the mono red nor the black red Madness decks, neither of those made top 8. And given that folks were probably playing those because they thought they'd have a good matchup against a field full of decks like Ponza, it's pretty telling they didn't end up actually making the top 8 after all.
That's interesting. How many did we actually see? How far down this?
Madness is right here, and this is the 5th most
So
popular
Madness
deck.
is the 5th with 6 copies, but mono red. I don't see anybody registering. There's a burn deck in it. So
there we go. Yeah, so
1 out of 124. That's not good ratio.
Yeah, but there are 6 of the Madness decks, right?
So what? So like, let's say 7 of the aggro, like the hyper aggressive aggros. Plus, we've seen the mono green aggro. They literally just lost the winning in, unfortunately. You know, what I mean, they missed the land drop on. They kept a 1 lander. It's like in-game match for free. It is what it is.
And I think the other big thing is notice none of these core Skyfisher decks made it, right? Like Orzhov Blade was the 3rd most popular deck, and then Burrow Synth a little further down. But neither of those put any copies into the top 8 here, which is pretty telling for it's got a pretty rough Ponza matchup, and Affinity is always kind of close hit or miss. So
what's the deck they're missing? 2 Ponza, 2 Affinity, 1 Jeskai Ephemerate, 1 Brood Scale, 1 Gates, and what's the one? What are you missing?
Did you say Jeskai Ephemerate?
Yeah, Jeskai Ephemerate. Glee combo.
Wall. Oh, Glee combo. Yeah.
Glee on a Brood Scale combo. What is it that they're missing?
So it's 2 Grixis Affinity, 2 Ponzas, 1 Walls, 1 Glee combo, 1 Ka Gates, and 1 Jeskai Ephemerate. Those are your 8 decks.
That's it. I'll let chat work out which one. If someone's just trying to get them all, I'm sure they're trying to make some sort of command in chat so people joining in can see it. Because that's what everybody wants to see, right? Everyone wants to know what the deck lists are and where they're going to be going live.
All right, looks like we have our bracket here too of who's going to be playing who.
So
first matchup, we'll go right off the gate.
I don't know which one that we're going to be picking for a feature match. I'm looking at the person that actually picks it. He's looking for as well. But the matchups in the top 8. So the way it works is 1 plays 8, 4 plays 5, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6. So you can work that out from yourselves from when we went down the standings. But we have got Jeskai in versus the Ponza deck. Who's your favorite in that one?
Jeskai versus Ponza.
Grixis
Affinity versus Ponza.
Sorry, I'm super dyslexic on this side of the broadcast. So what are you thinking?
Well, in that matchup, I really like. I really like. It's tight. I mean, either deck can take it down. I think without seeing the lists, it's hard to say because it depends how aggressive that Affinity deck is, right? If that Affinity deck is on the more aggressive side, I like its odds against Ponza, but it's going to be the one that kind of ponders around for a little while and slowly tries to accrue a lot of advantage with it. It ends up being a little tougher spot. So it's hard to know without seeing the exact list there, but definitely those are the 2 big decks of the tournament, or 2 of the bigger decks of the tournament, going to fight against each other in that 1 versus 8 seed.
And then 4th versus 5th, we've got the Wall combo versus Ponza, and I've just been told that is going to be our main feature match going into the top 8.
I like the Wall deck in that matchup. I feel like the Ponza deck is going to try and attack the lands. It's not going to work out. The Wall deck, if it's not messed with in the first several turns, there's not a lot of removal in that Ponza deck, it really pops off. So that is pretty darn huge.
And it's going to be cool to see, because if you haven't seen it go off and you're not familiar with the Pauper format, watching that deck do its thing is crazy. Hats off to you two that are going to have to actually try to demonstrate that across to everybody at home, because all you can see is counters and things getting tapped left, right, and center. Then next up with them, we've got the Jeskai Ephemerate list versus Gates.
Yeah, I think, once again, it's pretty draw dependent. Like, it depends on if they're playing Cleansing Wildfire, if they get that off early, how good their Ephemerate draws. I think I slightly favor the Ephemerate deck here, but that's a close matchup, right? And they're both kind of these blue decks that have access to Brainstorm and ways to shuffle their library. And that one can go on quite long and has the potential to be pretty explosive. But I do think I favor Ephemerate in that match.
And then quick math, the last 2 decks that are left in the round is going to be another Grixis, the second Grixis Affinity list versus the Glee combo.
On paper, I would favor Affinity here, but I want to see that Glee combo deck.
I think everybody wants to see that. They love to see it when they get a new form, a new format is kind of molding towards a new deck that's pop out. At the minute, bear in mind, this is only day 1. We've got 3 full days of Pauper coming up for this weekend. That's a deck that's turned up out of nowhere, so to speak. It was on some people's radars, but the fact that it's turned up and done well, and it's now in the top 8, it's going to, that's going to get posted everywhere. People are going to see it. More people are going to pick it up. They're going to be trying it in leagues, playing at the FNMs, turning up to maybe the next Paupergeddon that happens later on in the year with that deck, if it really does put up a good performance over these 3 days that we're going to see. But that's going to be our top 8. That's going to be our matchups. I imagine we're going to get the players sat down, ready to go. So we're going to step off. We're going to have a break. Maybe you'll come back later on for some more commentary. Maybe you'll bless us all with that. And we're going to pass it off. So make sure you don't go anywhere, because we won't be long before we come back. So see you all shortly.